So you know who's really good at giving speeches? Is the guy who's joining us right now. Bonta Hill joins us, presented by Ceremony Ford, your Bay Area Ford store, courtesy of the River Islands guest line. Bonta, how you doing this morning, bud?
I'm trying to stay dry, man. Me and Tessa just got caught up in a downpour out here in Burlingame, jumping her off to school, man, so duck for cover. She goes, it's raining cats and dogs. I'm like, I know. So, yeah, that's how my morning's going.
There you go.
Hi, guys.
It's raining upon the King's rain. That's how it is this morning. Bonta, we've been talking a lot of Warriors over these last couple days here. Let's start off with a very broad question here. Just with the season coming into an end, everything's being where it's at, just where are you at with where the Warriors stand right now as an organization coming out of this most recent season?
Where do I stand after a disappointing 37-win regular season? This is the most critical offseason in the Joe Lacob era. There's no doubt about that. It's not even close. We could talk about 2016 when they got KD, but they won 73 regular season games. We could talk about 2019 when KD left and Clay was hurt, but we knew that was going to be a rebuild or reload season. This is the most critical offseason of the Joe Lacob era, and it's not even close. There's a lot of dominoes to fall, with the big one being, is Steve Kerr going to coach his team again? Because who knows? If he doesn't come back, then what happens with Draymond Green and the player option? What happens with Melton and Horford with their player options? What happens to GP2 with his unrestricted free agency? What happens to Brandon Podziemski, who we all know now is going to be eligible for a rookie extension? So I stand that this is situation critical. How do you reload this team? How do you compete in the Western Conference? Because I'm sure you guys have watched the playoffs. They're not close to these playoff teams right now in the Western Conference. Not even close.
Bonta, the name you didn't bring up was Mike Dunleavy. And I'm not here to say that he's the best GM, nor am I here to say that he's Nico Harrison as a GM. I just think we need to kind of give him a little bit of a chance here. And I don't understand why we're so critical of him. Like, everybody loved the Jimmy trade last year. I thought he pulled a rabbit out of the hat. Obviously, he got hurt this year, and he doubled down on being old. But it felt like everyone wanted to double down on being old. I'm talking about all the fans. Where are you at with the criticism Mike Dunleavy gets? Do you feel it's warranted?
Well, you got to understand where the fan base comes from when it comes to Mike Dunleavy. We talk about one of the draft picks during that terrible era of Warriors basketball from 94 to 06, to where he may have been the most hated Warriors player in the last 30 years. Mm-hmm. I mean, who would come second? Like, Dunleavy was getting booed at home. I mean, it was rough. And was he overdrafted maybe as a number 3 overall selection out of Duke? Probably. I mean, that was the Yao Ming draft. And obviously the ping pong balls didn't go the Warriors' way and had to settle for Dunleavy. So some of that criticism stems from his playing days because people haven't forgotten. It's like, this guy. And so you think about his situation. You come here and you praise Bob Myers, who is likable by most people. And you have to inherit Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Steve Kerr, and you're tasked with extending this dynasty. It's not an easy gig by any chance. Like, how much juice does he have to maybe make a power move? Well, he made a power move last year with Jimmy. We can all agree that Brandon Podziemski at 19 overall has been a good draft pick.
Yep.
He squeezed the limit out of Quentin Post, a mid-second round pick. Now, he was a second-round pick for a reason. But they got some production out of Quentin Post. Same as Will Richard, who kind of flatlined during his rookie season here in the NBA. So I think the criticism is going to come because of the nature of the business, the nature of the job, and who he's replacing and who he has to construct this roster for, which is Steph Curry, Steve Kerr, and Draymond Green. So he's going to get criticized regardless. But that next big move that he makes, Shasky, is going to be the one where people say, okay, this is the offseason where we're going to find out just how good Dunleavy is at his job.
All right, let's rat-a-tat-tat these big deals. Steve Kerr, today, I know you said you've gone back and forth. What do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if that article, and I trust Anthony Slater, Ramona Shelburne, especially Slater, that's our guy. There needs to be a philosophical shift in the way they play. Is Steve Kerr willing to do that? Is Steve Kerr willing to move off of some of the vets? We know they tried to trade Draymond Green. I know Dunleavy and Joe Lacob said otherwise, but that was out there. And he was out there on the block because obviously the money makes sense. As of today, I'm going to say no, he doesn't come back. I'm going to go back to that angle here and see what the Warriors do. Because come on, guys. When he said, I don't know what's going to happen next, I love you guys. Like, come on, man.
I'm with you. It felt like a moment. It felt like a moment, and it felt final. I agree with that. Draymond Green, back or not?
Oh, that's a tricky one. If Steve Kerr's back, Draymond's back, no doubt about that. If Steve Kerr's not back and they hire a new coach, does that coach play a style that fits Draymond Green at the stage of his career? And then does Draymond Green want to opt into that and say, you know what, opt in and trade me? So if Steve Kerr's back, Draymond's back. If Steve Kerr's not back, now things get interesting with Draymond.
Kristaps Porzingis.
I don't know. What's his value? Like, let me ask you guys. Were you impressed by the Kristaps Porzingis era?
I think
what you saw from him? Because
2 games.
I mean, I know it's some games, right?
I think it was the 2 games were in a nutshell. Wow. He looked great against the Clippers. Oh, my God, he's backpedaling. He's hurt. The next game, oh, my God, he can't play. Get him off the floor. It was the full KP experience.
Yeah, if you're the Warriors and you're trying to get younger and more athletic, you got to see what the market is for Kristaps Porzingis. And you can't overpay for this guy. Is he back? It's up for me to say what is, because I don't know what his market is. You know what I'm saying? And if you do bring in a new coach, does that new coach want to inherit Kristaps Porzingis and try to stretch him out? This guy has played more than 57 games in the regular season 3 times. Do you really want to heavily invest into that? Like, when you're one of the most injured teams in the NBA this season, I have a hard time seeing Kristaps coming back, and then that makes the JK trade look really bad, especially after what we saw last night. Like, I get you had to trade Jonathan Kuminga, but I think, Kristaps Porzingis and his availability makes things difficult, man. So I don't know if he's coming back, Jask. I really can't call that one.
We got Bonta Hill here joining us on the River Islands guest line. He joins us every Tuesday, presented by Ceremony Ford, your Bay Area Ford dealer. Bonta, another deal we've been kind of discussing in terms of what it might look like is the next contract that Steph Curry might be signing. We've been kind of kicking around the idea. Does he just take as much money as he can? He takes the max, which will be $67 and $71 million. Or do you see any sort of situation where Steph maybe does take a little bit less money to kind of open things up for Mike Dunleavy to add more guys onto this team with that money that they'd be saving by not giving Steph the Supermax?
Well, I can't speak for Steph. I don't know what's floating in Steph's mind. I do know he wants to finish his career with the Golden State Warriors and is, I'm guessing not willing to move around, especially with his kids, his family or whatnot. So I'm not going to speak to Steph and what he may do for his next contract. I thought it was very interesting, I should say, what he said Friday night, that we have to get back to the fundamentals. We got to stop talking championship. We got to get back to who we are. And right now we're not who we are, which is a competitive basketball team. Like, you look at those teams in the Western Conference right now, the Warriors got smoked by Portland. Smoked this year, 3 out of 4 games, right? Phoenix, we saw what they did to them on Friday night. They just look so much damn faster. That's my issue with the Warriors right now. They're at an athletic disadvantage every single night, even when they play the Brooklyn Nets and the Washington Wizards. I mean, you got to have, I get IQ and you got to be able to think the game, but you also got to have talent. And right now, this franchise is devoid of a lot of talent on that basketball court. So get it back to the basics. What does that look like for Steph? Is it talent? Is it athleticism? Is it bigs? Is it youth? So that's what we got to figure out first and foremost. But as far as this contract and that, I don't know what Steph's thinking. I'm not going to sit here and speak for Steph Curry.
No, I want you to, please. Burlingame Bonta speaking on behalf of Steph Curry. No, I'm just teasing. Warriors on NBC, your colleague, Monty Poole, said, barring a renewed faith that would prompt a change of heart, the belief is that Steve Kerr won't return as Warrior coach, sources tell Monty Poole. So let's get beyond that. I saw you suggesting a name back in November, and it's funny that you referenced that individual because I'm now seeing Kevin O'Connor and a bunch of other people reference him. His kids went to St. Cecilia's. I know a lot of people whose kids were in the class with him, and he was a great guy, and that's Todd Golden, who is now at Florida right now. He's got a lot of Northern California ties, playing at St. Mary's, coaching at USF. His wife's from this area. They own a house up in Tahoe. Make the case if Kerr, if we're getting past, I don't want to be disrespectful to Kerr. I'm not trying to replace him, but if there's a case to be made for Todd Golden, what would it be, Bonta?
Well, let's go back to something with Monty, because Monty, we were doing a podcast yesterday when he said that. And if you haven't subscribed to the Dust Talk podcast, it's not full of propaganda. You'll get some nuggets there. Listen.
So like 90% propaganda?
No propaganda.
I'm teasing. I'm totally teasing.
Facts. I know a lot of people out there. It's just facts.
You know what? 2 to 6 is 95% propaganda on this station. I'm just joking. Willard, I love you. Thanks.
So back in October, I was like, or November, I should say. I was like, Monty, I'd be surprised if Steve Kerr's back. And he started going off of that. The Todd Golden thing is interesting because before training camp, I was approached out and about. And I was like, what do you think about Steve and him coming back? And I was like, I don't know. Steve wants to be back. He'll be back. And that person was like, don't forget about the name Todd Golden. And he kind of put that in my ear. It's like, Todd Golden this. And look, you mentioned everything, his whole private life, Shasky, the Tahoe, the St. Cecilia's. We talked to him on the Morning Roast. We talked to him on the Dust Hub podcast the morning I brought it up. And obviously the city ties, taking the Florida Gators to Original Joe's when they're out here for the NCAA tournament. We know Dunleavy and Joe Lacob attended those games at Chase.
Mm-hmm.
We know they were probably talked to Todd Golden. And the thing about Lacob and his hires, he's hired guys without NBA experience in terms of coaching. Steve Kerr, Mark Jackson. Now, Todd Golden does have some coaching experience now with the Florida Gators winning the national championship. But when you watch the way they play, it looks like an NBA brand of basketball. They get up and down. I know they lost in the tournament in the way that they did, and things happening in college basketball. But young, and you look at the Western Conference right now, they got a lot of young coaches. Jordan Ott in Phoenix, Will Hardy in Utah, Mark Daigneault in Oklahoma City. The youthful people are willing to take a chance. You look at the Eastern Conference, Chris Lee with Charlotte and Jordy Fernandez for Brooklyn or whatnot. So there is something there. Now, it's a report. Like, we don't know. Steve Kerr says tomorrow, hey, I want to come back. This is dead. And by the way, in Gainesville, I'm sure the Florida officials are working on maybe extending Todd Golden, saying, hey, here's some new money. Will you stay in Gainesville? Like, because it's a little late in the game now in college basketball to try to go out there and get a new coach. So, I don't know. The Todd Golden thing has legs. I just found it interesting yesterday that it blew up out of nowhere.
Well,
I was like, hey, wait a minute. People were hitting me. I was like, didn't you say this thing? Grady texted me a minute ago saying, you told me this midway through the year. So it's just a name that was brought to my attention before training camp with the Golden State Warriors. So sometimes I do. Broken clock is right twice a day, right? But
when you get it straight from Lacob, that's what people think.
There
he goes again.
Hey, but be real quick.
Steiny has Joe Lacob's number, not me. By the way, if Todd Golden did come, how would he feel about taking over for Steve Kerr and coaching Steph and Draymond? How would Steph and Draymond feel about a rookie coach coming in from the college ranks to coach them during their last few years of their careers? So there's a lot there with Todd Golden in terms of will he, won't he, is he interested, is he not interested, is Steph willing to play for a college coach? So there's a lot of variables that have to come into play. And when something like this blows up like this, it tends to not happen.
Yes,
so
I would agree.
I would hold my breath on the Todd Golden situation.
I will say, if he doesn't come to the Warriors, expect a big extension with Florida and a pay raise. I know that he's got it good with Florida. Let's just put it that way. I had it on good reporting. Let's just put it that way. He has told people that the Warriors are his dream job, and Lacob apparently told his agent. Now, again, I heard this from people that know him very well.
Yep.
Lacob told his agent they're just going to keep an eye on him and what he does at Florida. So whatever this relationship is, there's clearly mutual interest on both ends, whether it's real or not.
No doubt. There's no doubt. And again, when that name was floated to me before training camp with the Golden State Warriors, and then obviously you guys see the clip with me taking a mailbag question, and I floated it to you guys, because it's like you said, Shasky, it's being fair to Steve Kerr. Who the hell am I as the Warriors pre- and post-game show host to start pumping up, hey, Todd Golden, next coach of the Golden State Warriors? I'm not going to do that. And that's not my job. But that's a name that has been floated to me multiple times, and it started way back when, before training camp, saying, hey, keep an eye on this guy because of all the variables we just laid out here. And I think Todd Golden would be able to make the transition to the NBA. I really think highly of Todd Golden. Obviously, here's the craziest part, too. He's so deep into the city, he used to intern and be a sales rep at NBC Sports Bay Area. So he's
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I mean, look, and Joe Lacob is 2 for 2 on coaching hires.
Yep.
He is. Mark Jackson worked out. Whether or not we want to admit that, Mark Jackson was successful. He helped kickstart this whole thing. Steve Kerr took it to another level. Now, if you want to reset, I'd love to reset with a young, innovative coach who's kind of just learning on the fly. I think highly of that hire if they were to go that direction. But obviously, Steve Kerr's got to decide what he wants to do. And if Steve Kerr decides, I want to come back and coach the Golden State Warriors, well, guess what? He'll be coaching the Golden State Warriors next season.
Simple as that. Bonta, thank you so much for joining us this morning, and try and keep dry out there the rest of the day.
Bye, Chess.
Yeah, I think I'll see you guys Thursday or Friday. Draft talk.
Might be Thursday and Friday for all we know.
Yeah.
The King's
Thursday
Court?
and Friday, excuse me.
The King's Court's coming to town?
The King's Court's, well, the game needs me. No pun intended. And, love it in this draft prep. Listen. Love the draft prep. We know all he knows is Miami guys.
Markel
There's
Bell.
about 365 other schools out there. You better prep up on your defensive linemen from Iowa and Missouri and Tennessee.
It's a key Mesidor or bust, Bonta. You know this.
Hey, the Big Trent's back. I know you love that, Jeffy.
I'm happy that Trent's back, and that's our final thoughts.
There we go. Thank you very much, Bonta Hill there joining us on the River Islands guest line. And with that,
So
Let's get
Bonta will be coming in 8 to 10 Thursday and Friday.